Hi, this is Rick for ED Mobile. Now we're going to look at just simply handling a button click in a couple of different ways. First of all, we're going to look at the AndroidOnClick attribute. And here I have AndroidOnClick for the button assigned to BTN-click, button click. And that means that I'm going to be calling a button click method which passes in this button as a view. So let's look at that. Here it is, public void button click. Now, I've got a lot of stuff commented out here. We're only going to concentrate for now on this simple approach. This is simple on-click handling. This way of doing things only works for the on-click handler. So if we define an on-click attribute within a button or other control that is clickable, then we can do it this way. But this approach, once again, only works for the on-click event. And we're going to grab the text view, in this case, I'm calling it TV, and cast the result of find view by ID with that view's ID as a text view. And now I've got TV, and I can set the text on TV to thanks for clicking, or whatever we want to do. So, of course, this will run. It'll run just fine, and we're going to go ahead and do that now. So when we click the button that says Click Me, we get thanks for clicking. Okay. And of course I've got everything set up in strings in my values, my string table. The button text and the text view text are Click Me and Click Below. And then in the activity, of course, in this button click method, I am assigning the text, so I don't need a string value for that, but I could set up a string value and assign it to that as well. And I probably would do that for internationalization purposes, but that's really not the focus of what we're talking about today. Now, this is a special case. We can only do this approach if we are dealing with the on-click event handler. Any other event handler requires some special processing. So let's go ahead and define a on-click event handler and assign it to the button the other way so that you can see that approach. So first off, I'm going to comment up this button click method. Now, to do this, I want to define the interface for the on-click event as a private anonymous interface. So OnClick listener belongs to view. I could go ahead and import view.onClickListener, but I've already got view and everything under it, so I've already got this onClickListener. I can just use view.onClickListener. Here I've called it mbutton_onClickListener, and I've created a new view.onClickListener using its noarg constructor, and then a curly brace, and very importantly, the semicolon belongs here because we have just created a new view on click listener, and that is a statement. So we have a statement terminator, which is a semicolon. Now, this works for any event listener, not just on click, on long click, on touch, on create options menu, or on create context menu, I should say, any of the event handlers that we talked about in discussion 3. So I'm going to override the onClick method. And from here on, this piece looks identical to this method. In other words, I grab the text view and I set its text. And here it is. Text view TV is a cast text view of the view that we get back from find view by ID, r.id.textView, and then we set the text. Thanks for clicking. Now, are we done? Not really. We have defined an anonymous implementation of the on-click listener interface for a view. What view? Well, it's not the activity. It's any view that we want to assign this listener to. So we need to make that assignment. So we can do that in onCreate. We could do it in several of these callback methods, but onCreate's a good place to do it. We're going to grab the button by its ID so that we have the button view that we're dealing with. And then finally, we set the on-click listener for the button to what? Well, to the OnClick listener we just defined, MButtonOnClick listener, which is what I defined it as up here. So now we should get exactly the same result that we got before when we run it. So here we go, our application, click below, ClickMe, but this time when we click the button, we are using an implementation of the interface, of the OnClick listener interface that belongs to View, and then assigning it in OnCreate to the button. So let's look at that and how it works. We click ClickMe, and it says, thanks for clicking, just like we expect. So from the user's point of view, it's exactly the same thing. From our point of view, this approach is a little bit more robust. Remember that OnClick will work in this way, but none of the other event handling implementations will work in this approach. In the next demo, we're going to look at handling multiple events on a single control, which is of course something that you cannot do with this layout XML and the OnClick. I will show you one other thing. For instance, you might assume, and remember that OnClick is the only one that works, but naively it could be assumed that we might have, let's say, an Android on LongClick that we could assign to a method. And this, of course, doesn't work. And why? Well, because there is no such attribute on LongClick at all. An unknown attribute, Android on LongClick. So there's no way to fix this. The way you actually handle a LongClick event is, of course, to assign it in the way that we've just done here. And of course, the other thing that we can do for cleanup is we can get rid of this OnClick handler entirely. Thank you very much.